What if the reason you never depend on anyone isn't strength, but something you learned before you even understood it? Because some of the most emotionally independent people didn't choose independence. They were trained into it by life slowly and silently. And once you understand this, you start seeing yourself differently. Not as someone who is strong or distant, but as someone who adapted to survive emotionally. For many people like this, childhood wasn't emotionally stable. Sometimes support was there, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes they were heard, sometimes they were ignored. And the brain doesn't forget patterns like that. It learns one simple rule: people are not consistent. And when consistency disappears, trust slowly disappears with it. So the child doesn't complain. The child adjusts. They stop asking. They stop expecting. And eventually, they stop depending. Not because they want to, but because depending starts feeling uncertain. And sometimes, emotional neglect is not obvious at all. It doesn't always look like absence or abuse. Sometimes it looks like being told, "You're overreacting," or "You'll be fine," or simply being ignored when you needed comfort the most. So the child learns something very quiet but very deep. My emotions don't really matter here. And when that belief forms, something inside starts shutting down. They stop expressing. They stop reaching out. They stop showing what they feel. And slowly they become emotionally self-contained. Then comes another stage: forced independence. Some people didn't slowly grow into independence. They were pushed into it too early. They had to handle their own problems, calm themselves down, and figure everything out alone. And when this happens again and again, one belief forms: I can only rely on myself. On the surface, it looks like confidence, but inside it's a nervous system that doesn't feel safe depending on anyone. Because help doesn't feel comforting anymore, it feels unfamiliar. And unfamiliar often feels unsafe. So they build control through independence. Over time, depending on others starts feeling like losing control. So the mind creates protection. If I don't depend on anyone, I can't be disappointed by anyone. But that protection slowly turns into a pattern. Even when safe people come into life, even when support is available, the distance remains. Not because they don't want connection, but because their system learned that staying self-contained equals staying safe. And this is where most people misunderstand them. From the outside, they look independent. But inside, they are often just regulated in solitude. Because alone feels predictable. Alone feels calm. Alone doesn't change suddenly. But there is a hidden cost. The same independence that protects them also limits how close people can get. And that leads to the real question. Is this truly a choice, or just a default pattern? Because choice feels peaceful, but default feels automatic. And most people never notice when their survival pattern becomes their personality. The truth is, you were not meant to stay disconnected. You adapted this way to protect yourself from emotional instability. Real strength is not, "I don't need anyone." Real strength is, "I can choose people without losing myself." And maybe for the first time, you don't have to survive connection. You can learn it again.